Hello, I'm David.
Hi, I'm Julie.
Now we're going to do a review of Three Sisters. Hopefully you've had a chance to check out our How to Play and Playthrough, where I go into a lot of detail on how to play. This is a roll and write game. We try to score the most points after 8 rounds. And the reason why I go into a lot of detail on how to play, because there's a lot of options in this roll and write, which can intimidate some people. But for us, it's a plus to have all those options. Now this is for 14 and up. Now they do that for regulation purposes. You could play this with a high achieving 4th grader, probably 3rd grader. It's 1 to 4 players, so there is a solo mode, and it takes 45 minutes. Maybe, if you can trust everybody to do their actions right. And I mess up too. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're going to be doing. Oh, by the way, why is it called Three Sisters? Well, it's a farming technique that was perfected by indigenous tribes, and I'll read here from it to make sure I get it right.
Please.
Okay, this technique has been practiced by indigenous peoples for centuries to grow a trio of crops known as the Three Sisters: corn, beans, and squash. So it would be from the Americas, because those were indigenous to North and South America. So the corn provides a lattice for the beans to climb. The beans transfer nitrogen from the air to the soil, and the squash creates a natural ground cover that reduces weeds and keeps pests away.
Wow.
So we're showing, usually I have this zoomed in more, but this was my board on our How to Play and Playthrough, and this was Julie's. What intimidated us, when I saw the Kickstarter, I said, wow, I really don't want to get a game that has 2 record sheets. And I didn't look into it further, but some friends of ours brought it over, and we loved it, and we acquired it after the Kickstarter. So the game revolves around rolling so many 6-sided dice, and the dice that you pick will determine what zone you're going to plant and water, and then you can get bonus actions around your farm. So if I show here on the chart, well, how many dice do you roll? Well, in a 2-player game, you'll have 4 dice, 3 players, 5, and you use all 6 in a 4-player game. By the way, on this side of the board is the solo rolls.
See, I never saw that side. Yeah. I know
so
there was another
Edith
side.
starts here with a pin, and then we'll roll 4 dice. These 2 won't be used. This is what you use to keep track of the round. You'll roll 4. Wow, that's an interesting roll. So where Edith is, you put the lowest die, and then you go around the options here, placing the dice in sequence from lowest to greatest. I forgot what these are called again.
What, babe?
These spaces.
I don't know.
Here, maybe you can help me figure out.
Sure, I'd be happy
Let's say
to.
I didn't roll a 4, but I rolled a 5, a 6, and a 3. Well, then you did, or a 2. So it'd be like this.
The rondelle.
The rondelle. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a player marker. Let's say I was first. I can pick any one of these dice, and Edith then moves over to here. So Edith just shows you where the first die goes. If I pick the 2, I get to water or plant zone 2. Now that would be a good thing for me to pick, because you'll see here at this point in the game,
Whoop.
I already grew everything in zone 2. Right here is corn, so I'll show you a zone where I didn't do much in. I didn't do much in zone 6. So corn are 4 high, and when you grow it out and it matures, it becomes 3 points at the end of the game. You can't start growing beans until corn's at least 2 high, and then if you do finish a bean, you get 1 point. Now here are pumpkins. Pumpkins can be 1 high, 2, 3, or 4. And then you can get goods when you complete a pumpkin. And you can also get a flower in your perennial part of your farm. So you're going to be using these dice. So if I did pick the 6, for instance, I can plant 2. But I'm not going to water 2. I'm not going to water the zone, I should say, because I have nothing planted. So I have to plant something before I can water it. And you can see during the game, I had done a good job of completing my pumpkins. So that's the main thing you're going to do, is planting and watering your garden. Over here are your perennials. Certain actions you can take will grow out your flowers. So this one right here, I was able to finish this one and get 4 points at the end of the game. And as I start growing the daffodils, in this case, I get what are called shed bonus actions. So your shed's over here. This is where you can do things to get bonus points. For instance, I got the rain barrel right here. And the rain barrel means that there'll be events that happen. I get to, when rain happens, your whole garden grows. And then I can pick another zone to grow again with my rain barrel. Here, the shovel allows me to spin compost to get bonus actions. And what was this one here?
Casserole dish?
Oh yes, for every mature bean plant, I get an additional point at the end of the game. Here, seed spreader, instead of planting 2 in a zone, I can plant 3. So that helps you get more plants quicker, but you still have to water them. The carving kit allows you to get points when you have a sequence of pumpkins. So I had 1, 2, 3. I think I got like 10 or 12 points on that.
You did really well with
so
that.
You basically have to create a link of pumpkins around your garden. Okay, but I did not get zone 6 done. That would have been 12 points. I think I got 10 there.
I think you did too.
And then you can get things like a tractor. So I worked on the tractor, and I kind of wasted my actions on that. I didn't get the 18 points there because I didn't finish it. I needed 3 more actions to finish it. And so the other things you can do is the apiary.
Apiary.
Apiary, thank you. That's where your bees, and it can help you get more flowers. And you grow that here. You got to grow the first 4, and then you can split off in the branches and work on one branch or 2 branches or 3 branches and get more bonus points. You can plant fruit, and for instance, apples. You'll see there I completed an apple. That was worth 3 points. Nice thing about peaches is that when you complete a peach every 2, that's what the circle means, that you completed it, you get to water a zone. Blackberries give you points, and then raspberries give you goods because you sell them. And now what do you do with these goods here? The goods, you see here, are going to help when you take the farmer's market action. And every 5, you get a bonus action, which you can spend in your perennials, in your apiary, your fruit, or your shed. So that's how you get chain reactions. And you'll see here, I don't know how much that was here, 10, 20, 30, I don't know, it's 50, maybe 40 or 50, something like that. I don't want to count them all.
40 something, 41.
This is where you keep track of composting. Now what does compost do? That's your luck mitigation. Let's say I take a die that's a 6. I want to use the rondo action, which I haven't explained yet. I can spin a compost to make that 6 a 1, it wraps around, or I can make it a 5. And if I spend more compost, I can make it a 4, spend 2 compost and go -2, or make it a 2 and make it +2. And there's other things I can do that too here in the perennials. So that's the basic thing in the game, is that you're trying to grow things, you get points, get bonus actions from the shed and your perennials as you grow stuff out. Julie's board is a little different here because you don't have to work on the same things. So you notice I said the rondel. So I take a die, it just tells me what zone I get to water or plant, and then I get to take this action down here. The apiary means I can take an action there and fill in the next box, or I can take a fruit action and pick one of the fruits. Planting and water, if I did take this one, I get to water zone 4. Where's zone 4? Right here. And then, water a plant, zone 4, and then water a plant again in the same zone. Shed time means you get to take an action there. Compost and 4 goods, I get to add a compost here, and then do 4 goods here. You can get bonus actions. And then the farmer's market's right here. Now, how does a farmer's market work? This is where you want a lot of goods, because the more goods you have, this is where you grow your perennials, and you get either bonus fruit actions, or just a bonus action in general, or more composting. So the more goods you have, the more of that triggers. Now the last thing that happens, let's say this is a situation, the second to last thing that happens here. I take this die, Julie took this die. Now all players take the die and the rondo action of the lowest die that's left. So now Julie and I would get to water and plant zone 4 and water or plant zone 4 again. So that's the same thing if it was a 4-player game. You could have a situation here. This is a 1, 2, 3, 2 5s and a 6. Somebody takes a 5, a 6, a 2, and a 3. Now all 4 players would get to do the 1, which would be You water or plant zone 1, and then you take an apiary or fruit action. Now the last thing that happens at the end of the round is you get events. This affects everybody. This is what happens after the end of each round. Remember, the game's over 8 rounds. You're trying to score the most points. So you get a shed action. You get to try to complete something in the shed. Fill out a square or a circle. And then raining. That means everything gets watered in your garden. Farmer's market. You do this right up here. And then things repeat over the next 8 rounds. So you're going to get rain 3 times, farmer's market 3 times, and shed twice before the game ends. And whoever scores the most points wins. So that is a quick overview. I go into more detail in the how to play, and you can see how it worked out.
All right,
Okay.
well now it's time for us to give you our positives, our negatives, and our neutrals, and then we'll tell you how we rated it on the BGG scale. And so I thought this was a very super fun roll and write. I really, really like this game. And it has an interesting, realistic theme. I had no idea what Three Sisters even meant until David,
Well, I didn't know either. We learned it when we played the game.
Yeah, I thought that was just so interesting. And I do think that new players to roll and write or younger players will need extra help figuring out how to play. As David was saying, there's a chain reaction of things. And he helped me he gave me a little clear
When you watch the how to play and play through, it doesn't come with a game, but we use little clear beads. Because as you, for instance, complete pumpkins and you get perennials and goods, and you say you water, okay, and you're marking off water things, and you get bonus actions. You can what we did is, you'll see in the playthrough, we'll put beads on it. We'll water first, then we'll take the beads off and get the bonus action, because sometimes when you get the bonus action, it will cause another chain reaction. You'll put a bead there too. So that's one thing that would help this game, is to have some kind of tracker like that. And that's why Julie's making that comment about young people. Their playing time will increase until you're confident that a player can do this on their own without missing things or messing up.
Yeah. And, I am a grown adult, obviously. And because of my cognitive disability, David still needed to, bless his heart, not only, worry about his own thing, but he had to make sure I wasn't messing up and either marking too much or not marking down.
Or forgetting things.
Yeah. And so...
Well, that's why we came up with the beads.
Yep. And that's why I said it can be easy to forget to follow through with all the actions. And the only thing, there really isn't any player interaction if you think about it. I mean,
No.
You're picking the dice. Maybe that's the only...
There's a tiny bit that maybe I'll take a die that you might want, but you're more thinking about yourself. You're not thinking of, I gotcha.
Exactly. Because to be honest, there's so much going on your board. Because, David taped them together because there's 2 sheets. But you have so much going on in front of you that you don't really have time to look at what everybody else is doing. Because, first of all, it's really not going to affect you. And second of all, yes, you're competing to get most points, but you're trying just to make your things to best.
Yeah, you're more focused on yours. It would be like a rare thing like, I know Julie needs shed time on the 8th turn to complete that tractor. And even then, if you did that, she might be able to get a bonus action to complete it anyways.
Yeah.
So more than likely, you're not going to care what other people are doing.
No, that's the only negative.
Right. So what do I have to say? So it's thematically fascinating, like what Spock would say. Score the most points, roll and write game.
Should I get your little pointy
This
hairs?
is one of the most thematic roll and writes we have. I mean, we have the...
The welcome
it's pretty clever. It's just a straight up math game.
Yeah.
We have
Welcome to.
Welcome to.
It's
somewhat thematic, but it's mathy. Okay. We have cartographers, which is a little bit of the theme with being a fantasy game, but that's more visual spatial. We have the railroad one. So this is probably the most thematic roll and write we have. Now I know there's other ones out there that are thematic. So that impresses me. And that's why I regret not supporting the company directly on the Kickstarter, because if we had known how good this was, we would have supported them directly. So it's interesting and meaningful decisions. You will find yourself going... So when you watch the playthrough, I went for apiary early on, then I got distracted, started going for the tractor. I should have kept on going with the apiary. So there are options you can do, but you can, in this case, you can get used to habits and just keep on going for the same thing, and then you forget that
Yeah.
you can backtrack and mess yourself over on that. So there's plenty of decisions. Near zero player interaction. It's almost like you're playing solo. The science and math connections are high. Now this would be definitely a game for AP honors and gifted students. It could be for a high functioning elementary student with parent supervision. You teach them. It takes, I don't know how many repetitions you would need before they can play it independently, but a bright child could handle this on their own once they've done it, had enough repetitions, if they're an experienced gamer. And this, we've talked about in a previous video about planted. This would be a step above planted in terms of complexity, but the math is better. So if I want to have more math connections, this game will have more math connections, and this has higher science connections. But because of that, it requires more cognitive ability for students or children to play this on their own. Now with adult supervision, you can provide more scaffolding, more support. But even then, I would not play this with general ed students in a class of 35 and expect them to all be able to play it.
No, gosh, no.
You need to have a certain amount of independent learning to do
Yeah.
it on their own.
Yeah.
So it's above average learning curve. So that's a neutral. Julie was able to handle it fine. There's some games that are so complex, but this will make Julie, after we play it, won't want to play another game again because
No.
it will be very taxing.
It's very taxing.
And the rule book is, the information's here. There's things that are buried. I go over it in how to play where things are buried, but you really do need to read it with a fine-tooth comb. It's all here, but it doesn't have page numbers. And some important rules can be buried in different places. So for the casual gamer, they're going to want to watch a video or be shown how to play. For the experienced gamer, you'll have no problem. So dark bleeds have readability issues. So the type of paper they used here and how much ink, some of this stuff can be hard to read. So if you have a low light vision problems, or you're playing in a dark area, you'll have it's hard to see it right now. You're saying, well, I can shoot on camera, I'm zoomed in, right? But in a low light room, you'll have a hard time reading this. So if they come out with new score pads, they need to look at what paper stock they use or brighten that up a little bit or do different type of text on a future edition. So that can be hard for somebody that has low vision problems. So it needs a bonus tracking device, like I mentioned. There can be so many chain reactions that occur here that you can miss things. Even an experienced player can miss things because you're like, oh, boom, 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 like this, and you're moving here, here, then here. And that's why we have the glass beads. Hopefully in a future edition they include something like that, or it could be an upgrade with like nice little plant tokens or something like that that people buy. But I like the glass beads because you can see right underneath it.
Yeah,
and
that
it could be
nice.
raindrops, for instance.
Well, that would be cute.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. So let's take a look at how we rate it on the BGG scale.
Okay. We both said 8.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite roll and writes.
It's mine.
I'd have to think about the other ones we've played a little bit more carefully, but it could be the number one for me too.
Yeah. It's definitely. Plus, I really love plants. And I love flowers. And so this is like right up my alley. Plus, I love, like apple pie. And
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
I love farmers markets.
You really feel like you're gardening and you're running a farm. Now, I don't know how much you'll hold up to repetitive plays, playing more often.
Right.
Will it become a 9 or a 10? Or will we get so much into a rut of doing the same thing that we always go for this and this, and we don't switch things up?
Well, what I thought was neat is on our How to Play and Playthrough, David actually did the apiary, which we had never done before.
I didn't stick to it, though.
So he didn't stick with it. So I was kind of hoping he would have. So
I should have.
I would have seen how that would have worked. But
so only with more plays will we know. Does it become, well, you got to do this if you want to do this to score more points? I mean, we haven't played a game where we're going for our perennials and for the apiary. Will the game be different if you really focus on these two parts of the farm? I don't know.
It might be. I don't know.
And if you do, in other words, is there one strategy that people would do more often than others that gets you more points? You would only learn that with more plays. And,
True.
And that would affect whether or not it goes up or down. Because if it does become a type of game where you must do this if you want to win, then your rating goes down. If it's more open-ended, where I'm going to go this route, and it's asymmetrical, where it's more competitive, then the rating can go up. So it'd be interesting to know after more plays.
Yeah, I think so. I like it. I like the little orange dice. It's fun.
The dice are thematic.
They are.
Definitely.
And look at the cute little pumpkin.
That's cute too, the player mark.
I love it.
All right, well, that's
right.
Three Sisters. Thanks for watching.
Thanks so much for watching. We will see you guys in the next video.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.